Welcome to Beyond the Headlights,
where we turn our pain into purpose
and raise our voices against drunk driving. I'm Destiny.
And I'm Jennifer. And today on Beyond the Headlights, we're going to talk about another case. And this is a brand new, very recent one from St. Patrick's Day of this year, March 17th. Mm-hmm. This one involves the New Jersey mayor. We actually have kind of talked about this a little bit on our Facebook page. So if you haven't visited that, maybe check that out and see for yourself some of the comments. So on St. Patrick's Day in New Jersey, the mayor, Gina LaPlaca, she had, I guess, been day drinking maybe. They found a water bottle in her car that had alcohol in it and another bottle in the car. She had gone to pick up her 2-year-old or her young child from daycare when people saw her erratically driving, switching lanes, going all over the place, sideswiping a utility pole, busting her mirror off. So the police followed her into the driveway, and when they went ahead and let her get her child out of the car seat and send him to the front door where somebody was waiting for him, and just in that couple seconds of watching her, she was stumbling all over the place. She was having trouble standing. She was very, very intoxicated.
Well, I think that it's important to note, too, that this wasn't taking place at 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. Like, it was 5:40 p.m. when, daycares are about to close, so lots of kids are on the road. Families are going to dinner. They're coming home from work. So all
those after-school activities.
Yes, it's a busy time of the day when she was doing this. And
Yep, absolutely. There's also videos online. You can watch her field sobriety test. And if you've ever seen one of those conducted in real life, you know, balancing on one foot, all of us sometimes have a problem with that, even when we're sober. But she couldn't do the one step in front of the other. She couldn't follow his directions. She was clearly not okay. And they let her go ahead and get through the whole test before they arrested her. So she has some political influence in that town and makes some pretty serious decisions. But they've had some town hall meetings where they've been very crowded, well-attended meetings where the people in the town, as well as the people that sit on the board and the township committees, have asked her to step down as well. One gentleman, he was a committee member, said, "My personal opinion is for the mayor to step down and heal herself." He also said that he doesn't condone the actions of the mayor, but he does want her to be selfish and put her physical well-being first, which is a very kind statement. He could have been just so angry that he tore her up and publicly humiliated her. But I thought that was a very kind statement.
Exactly, because it wasn't like, oftentimes I think people think when people are drinking and driving that it's just one or two, it's just a few. But, they had noted that she was so intoxicated that the police, recommended she goes to the hospital and she's checked after. Yeah. So it wasn't just a happy hour after work where she could justify or try justifying one or two. Right. She was severely intoxicated.
Yes, it was very serious. And I also think for a person who doesn't have a substance abuse problem, one or two affect me a lot.
Absolutely.
But she clearly felt like the 5 o'clock hour, she had obviously had enough that it wasn't one or two. Yeah. She felt comfortable, where I would be scared. I would be thinking, oh my goodness, everybody's going to be able to notice. She felt confident enough that she was attempting to just chat with the officers. Yeah. She could just, she did apologize.
That could be her role in the community. She could feel, because she's the mayor, she knows these officers better, and could she talk or charm her way out of this? Right. It's something that time will tell, what will end up happening because of her position. I couldn't find her actual blood alcohol
number. But you know, from
It'll
what
come
we've
out.
talked about before, that if they were recommending she go to the hospital, she was in a serious
Yeah.
situation.
And it makes me wonder, like, how often has this happened before to where this looks like normal behavior for
Right.
her, for the daycare to not even question
Well,
her picking her
just
child
go
up?
back a couple seconds ago when I said she had it in a water bottle. It was alcohol
Yeah.
in the water bottle, so she knew what she was doing.
She was hiding
Like, I
it.
would not be doing that
I would
on
never.
a random Monday
No.
at 5:00 in the evening. You do
Yeah.
that when you have a problem and you want to get away with it.
Yeah, like you're hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Learn behavior.
it made me definitely question, like, how common is this for her,
Right.
for the daycare to not question putting a child in
Right.
the car? And it's
Right.
not
And
shaming the
did they smell
daycare,
it?
but
Yeah, did they smell it? Could they see her stumbling around? And I think that touches on excuse me, a social conflict too, because you don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to step on their toes. Maybe they're really having a medical issue when they're off balance and uneasy. And I think that we have to be more comfortable talking to people and saying, "Hey, are you okay? Can I call someone to come pick up your child and maybe attend to you?" Like in a kind way, in case there really is a medical issue or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's, you know,
Yeah.
you don't want to assume the worst, but maybe
Or
that's
again,
just how she was.
yeah, were they worried just about saying anything because her position of
Yeah,
authority, who she
right.
knew and who she was connected to, could it
Right.
affect things?
Exactly. So right away, they, like I said, there was just a huge group of people asking her to step down. Amy Callahan, who is a business owner in that town, said there's this huge black eye and black cloud over our town right now. And I do believe that we need to move forward as a community and for us to truly turn the page. I believe that cannot occur with her on our council. And so I agree with that statement too, because how could you, like, I don't believe in kicking somebody when they're down. And that's going back to the one statement about her physical well-being first. But at some point you do need to step back, and you can't have all of those responsibilities on your head when you have personal issues going on that are causing you to be arrested.
You have to know your limits.
You do.
And you have to be able to recognize what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And she doesn't seem to be capable of recognizing those things right now.
Right. Now, at one of those meetings, they did have an attorney come in. It was the town's attorney. And he told the crowd that legally, under New Jersey law, the township code, there was nothing that the committee could do to remove the mayor because she was an elected official, and the only way for her to be removed was for her to resign or to take up some legal action that they would deem necessary to move forward with a recall of the election. So
Even if she was convicted of the DWI, she would still be able to serve her position.
It sounds like it. Right. Yeah, it sounds like it. So I thought that was an interesting take on it too. At what point, as an elected official, does the constituents of that town have the right to ask her or force her to step down? Maybe force her, because she's already said she's not stepping down. And it also reminds me, and I didn't do any research on this, maybe I'll do it later, but after the President Trump inauguration, a staff member of the speaker, I believe, the night of, had a DWI arrest, and he also said he was not stepping down. So I think there's two things in my head right now. One is, at what point, if this is a first offense, you have a conversation. If it's a second or subsequent arrest, is there a point where the community, the towns, the government, whatever, says that's enough? You have a problem.
I mean,
You're
it's
not learning.
like when you get elected into these positions, or you choose to take these positions, you're choosing to lead by example.
Yes.
You're in a position of authority and people are looking up to you, and if there's a gray line, like, you don't touch it when you're in that authority.
Right.
Like, you're leading by example, and unless that's a behavior that you want everyone on the street to do, you shouldn't be doing it yourself.
Right.
You're leading by example, and
Right.
she isn't leading by the example that
And how in the
everyone is.
world, if we're out here talking about what should happen after a first offense and the people in authority and power have different set of rules, how is that ever going to work in our world? How does that ever accomplish any goals? If they can get away with it, I guess I can too.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the thing that we don't want to happen.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to send this cultural shift, you know, that it doesn't matter who you are or where you are or how much money you have. It's never okay. And
because you have a certain last name or a certain position of power, you don't get to walk away from it the same way because of that. And in fact, almost like piggybacking off of what you said, maybe the consequences should be harsher.
Yeah. And I know that we often discuss what should happen on a first offense, but I think that it needs to be harsher all the way around, because how many times are these first offenses getting swept under the rug? Just like the NHL brothers that we discussed.
Right.
That guy had previously had a DWI, but there was some loophole to where a police officer didn't show up years prior, and he never was truly convicted of that DWI.
Right.
So he had one, but it didn't stick to his record. So when he goes to get this next one and he finally does kill somebody, it's his first. So should he really have things easier for him? And oftentimes the first time that people get caught isn't their first time driving drunk.
Right.
It's just their first time getting caught.
That's right.
So how lenient should the first time be? You know,
Yep, I agree.
You know, if it's harsher on the first time, would there be a second time? Probably not. It would scare them into never wanting to do that again.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think that I'm not positive of the statistic, but I'm fairly sure that it's close to, you'll get away with it 80 times before you get caught.
I wanted to mention that too, but I didn't have the exact number.
I think it's the number. I know it's
80 to 90 times that you'll drive intoxicated before you actually get caught. And that should be something that terrifies anyone driving on a roadway. Because as we have shared, it doesn't matter if it's 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. or 3 a.m. There's drunk drivers all around you when you sit at any car, at a stoplight. You don't know who you're sitting next to.
Another statistic that just popped into my head when you said that, and again, take it with a grain of salt because I'm not sure of the exact number, but there's also a number that says every 10th car you pass will have an intoxicated driver behind the wheel. So if you just count, sitting in traffic, there's traffic outside today. You count those 10, there's one. There's two. There's three. And that is very terrifying too.
Yeah. Well, I think that oftentimes people, we all know drinking and driving is bad. We all know we're not supposed to do it, but you never really think it's going to happen to you. You don't really think it's as big of a problem as it is. But in reality, so many people around us are doing it, and we just turn a blind eye. I mean, I went out.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I went out on Valentine's Day, and we went out with friends. We met with one of their friends, and we made it known that we don't drink and drive. Rightfully so, since I had to bury my entire family from it. But the guy was like, I had just drank beers. You can ride with us. It's only 1.5 miles down the road. What could happen?
Drank beers.
Yeah. What could happen in 1 mile? I said, I can tell you what can happen. You could make a family bury their family. That's what could happen. So my husband and I waited outside, paid $90 for a round trip ride for 1.5 miles because we don't drink and drive. We don't ride with anyone. We plan ahead. But I mean, I shared my story. I let him know, and it still wasn't serious to him. And there's only so much you can do besides telling people that it's not okay. And I couldn't call law enforcement to come and monitor the area because by the time they got there, that 1.5 miles would have already been over, or somebody would have already been dead. Their time wasn't on my side. And so I don't know. I just don't think people think that it's as serious as it is. It's just 1 mile down the road.
And I think every time you get away with it, it desensitizes you to doing it.
Yeah.
So
you get better at it, you think. Or
and I've heard so many alcoholics say, I've done this my whole life. I'm a pro at this. I know my limits. All of those like catchphrase that they commonly say, or that New Year's Eve is amateur hour. You know, those people aren't used to drinking and driving, but I am. I've done it since I was 16, and I'm 80 now.
But how many DWIs do they have? You know what I mean?
Right.
Usually they still have a few, but that punishment isn't harsh enough to get them to stop or to change their mind. They know the roads to take. They know the things to do, and they've just gotten better over time.
Yep, I agree.
But at the end of the day, being in a position of power, when you're somebody who is the head of the town, you're preparing budgets, you're vetoing powers, you're appointing powers, you're holding meetings, like, you should just be held at a higher standard. And they may not be able to make her step down from her position, but she should absolutely do the right thing. And I think that if she is charged, there should be some sort of something that changes in these elections, that if you have X, Y, and Z, you can't, you know. I
agree.
She's never going to get elected again, so this will be the end of her term regardless.
Hopefully not.
I would hope she doesn't with the outrage.
Time causes people to forget.
But yes, people forget.
So tell me what you were telling me before we started filming about the other mayor of New Jersey.
Yeah, so oftentimes I'll get on ChatGPT and I'll type in like the article that we're reading or discussing or whatever topic we're going into, and I try to see if ChatGPT will give me another like point that I may not have found through Google searches.
While you look it up, I can finish this part, and because I do think it's important to say what you found. But going back to this mayor and the deputy mayor, Lori Fay, made a comment to NBC 10 that said, as a committee, our priority is doing what is best for Lumberton. That was the town that she's mayor of. As human beings, we care about our residents and each other's well-being. The committee supports Mayor LaPlaca's decision to seek the help she believes she needs. Further, we wish her all the best in her next steps for self-help. Finally, we fully respect her family's request for privacy. Moving forward, although 100% agreement does not exist 100% of the time, it's my belief that if we have more in common that unites us than what divides us, and as mayor deputy, I take my oath seriously, as does the entire township committee. We'll continue to prioritize Lumberton and listen to our residents in consultation with legal professionals and work in unison to forge our path forward. The committee remains diligent in the commitment to working with our township employees and professionals to seek seamless services without a moment disruption to our residents. Lumberton is a relatively small town full of hardworking residents. Through it all, we believe we will remain united as ever. Lumberton strong, thank you. The reason I read that whole thing was because I just think it sounds like such a political answer. The issue was not addressed at all. More or less, let's not be divided over this. Let's stand strong together. But she didn't say anything that fixed the problem or anything to address the huge issue that they have going forward.
It just, I don't know. It definitely worries me that, you know, people in power are continuing to get these charges and nothing has changed yet, or they don't see an issue. I feel like some of the people in power are using their power for good, yes, but they're also using it to get out of things that are on their downfall. But what was crazy is when I looked up on ChatGPT to get more bullet points on this specific article, I kept asking, but because it was so new, it wasn't popping up for this article. But it's something that I do like with every story we share. But they ended up sharing that there was another mayor in Paterson, New Jersey, Lizette Parker, who also got a DWI, but in 2023, while her child was in the car.
In fact, when you first told me, I was like, no, I'm talking about the one that just happened.
Yeah.
And you were like, no.
There's another one.
This is almost exactly the same 2 years ago.
Yeah. So maybe there needs to be some sort of election reform or something.
No, it
not
just
in New
shows
Jersey, but everywhere. It shows that it's happening.
It shows that it's happening, and that theoretically this current situation will be forgotten. Everybody will move on. Their anger will die down.
This was a 2-year gap, and it happened again. Now,
almost
it wasn't the same city.
But almost exact same circumstances.
Same story.
Yeah. So going on to our Facebook page, when we posted this, we kind of, this is actually our first time chatting together about these comments.
Yes.
So overall, okay, let me go backwards. It's our Facebook page is Beyond the Headlights. It's not a secret that we're grieving mothers. No. We tell the world. We would talk about it in the grocery store as somebody is checking out our items. Like, we're not afraid to tell the story because it's so important. Like, so people that come on the Facebook page know, theoretically, that
we are
that we are against drunk driving. Right. So the majority of the comments are in favor of that.
Yeah, like Kim, she was saying that it wasn't her first time. It won't be her last. It makes me so angry. And that's usually my thought. It's the first time they may have gotten caught. It may not be, because she may have gotten caught before and it never stuck and we just never heard about it. But it was her first time getting caught. It most likely was not her first time drinking if she's hiding alcohol in a water bottle.
Yeah.
Well, that's another comment.
Normal people, I promise you, this is water. I wouldn't dream of it.
Yeah.
It's just not what a normal person does. Yeah. And if you're hiding it, that's a sign of a problem.
You know you have a problem.
So another comment was it just almost word for word what we said. When you choose a life of public service, what you do and the choices you make are under a microscope by the community that you serve. And so to say that she's refusing to resign, she's not taking responsibility for her own actions and acknowledges that she actually does have a problem. Until she does that, she'll not change or change what she's doing. She's been caught now, and next time will be right around the corner, and I pray she doesn't hurt or kill someone else or herself next time. She's proud of the officers that arrested her. That's a very good point, because that takes some bravery.
Yeah.
That's like a situation where you might not have the public on your side.
Right.
Or it might even get thrown out before it even hits the public.
Another comment, which was the one that really shocked us, was it was St. Patrick's Day. Give the poor woman a break.
Right.
And you know what? I probably could have been more lenient before I buried my son and my husband. You know what I mean?
At first, you instinctively are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you being sarcastic? Maybe he's being sarcastic. Mm-hmm. That could be the situation.
Yeah, and it's like, even if that was the true thought of give the poor woman a break, it was St. Patrick's Day. I get that it's a drinking holiday, but at the end of the day, we know what we're doing when we go out to the restaurant or the bar on St. Patrick's Day. We're making the plan, so why not make a plan ahead? Or if we know what we're doing, why are we putting our children in that situation?
Absolutely.
We intentionally drove to the daycare.
Absolutely.
Would we say the same thing if maybe she left her child in the car and forgot to take him out? It was her first time. Give her a break. We wouldn't say that.
Right, in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
People would be shaming that person.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just different though. Drinking is just different. Until it
happens to you, it isn't as serious. And I'll say it time and time again. I always knew drinking and driving was bad, but it didn't have the same effect on me as it did now. I grew up to where my dad drank and he drove. Time, my grandma, when she was going through her divorce, she drank and I'm sure she drove home.
Right.
But I knew that it was bad. I knew that I wouldn't do it, but I didn't grasp how bad it truly was.
Yeah, and I think
until it affected me at home.
On that point, because I talk to people all the time who will say the same thing. Oh, remember how we grew up?
Yep.
Remember we didn't wear seatbelts, or we rode in the back of pickup trucks, or my dad strapped the sled when it snowed to the bumper and flung us around with trees and gravel road. You cannot compare. I think the
when
expression
you know better,
you do
you
better.
should do better.
Yes, that's exactly
at the end of the
what
day,
I was just going to say.
You do the best with the information you're given, and you've now been given information of how bad this is and how many people it affects. So now you need to do better.
Yeah, I agree 100%. just because you did it in the past and got away with it is never an excuse to continue to do it when you know that it's not right. And that same person, you know, talking about St. Patrick's Day, give her a break or whatever, he also doubled down on it, because I was, like I said, I was trying to be like, oh, it's sarcasm.
You responded so great.
Yeah.
I was
and
so
then he
impressed.
doubled down and said she's a young mother who deserves a second chance. The second chance is that she got to live, and so did her baby.
Yeah, and she didn't kill anyone else.
She didn't kill anybody else. Yeah,
that was her second chance, because we didn't get that second chance.
No, we didn't.
You know,
no, we didn't.
And
there's claims. You know, I've heard the stories about the driver that killed my daughter, and I was told the same thing. It was her first time drinking and driving. I don't believe that.
Yeah, it was her first time getting caught.
It was her first time getting caught, and it was a doozy.
And then we go back to, they're young, give them a second chance, except for the lady that killed my family was in her mid-40s, and she was on her sixth chance before she killed my family. So how many times are we giving them too many chances? If she would have been held accountable on time 1 when she was caught, would my family be dead on time 6? No.
Right.
She kept doing it because the punishments weren't real, and she had children at home. So how many times did she drive drunk in the car with her young children?
Absolutely.
Like, it's sad. And now these kids had to grow up without their mom because of the
Everybody
choices she
loses.
chose to make.
Everybody loses. And there is a space for grace, not my daughter, but the concept of grace in that first time you get pulled over. Punishment is not necessarily the way we're like all playing it out to be. You can show grace to somebody by saying, I'm taking your license. I'm ordering you to attend a victim impact panel. I am putting an interlock system in your car.
And by doing that, though, like by doing those things, you are helping them in the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
By holding them accountable,
right.
You're protecting them from having a terrible criminal record that will continue, or killing somebody, or hurting themselves, you know, or getting down a path of addiction, because they may have only been caught the first time, but maybe they're drinking every night of the week. Maybe because we've made it so socially acceptable to go home and drink a glass or a bottle of wine every night, maybe they will now be able to recognize that they do have an addiction problem, and they couldn't recognize it because how socially acceptable this glass of wine or bottle of wine is after a hard day of work.
Yeah, and we have neither one of us have ever said alcohol is bad, I don't touch the stuff, I stay away from it. The only thing that we're saying is the responsibility lies with you.
Yes.
No.
I still will have a drink. Yeah. I will never drive. If we go out to dinner and I want a margarita, my husband's driving. Absolutely. He's not drinking. Yeah. If he chooses to drink his drink of choice, Jim Beam Apple, we're doing that at home. Like, that's his thing. We're doing that at home, but we would never get in a car and put other people or our children at risk.
And you said that night you paid like $90 to go
round
a mile
trip
and a half.
For a mile and a half that I could have walked in the summer, but it was cold.
Yeah, you can't do it in the middle of winter. No, and I think that something has to change there too, because if we're going to continue to preach, like get an Uber, get a Lyft, a lot of times venues, when they have big events and they let out, Uber and Lyft know that those are hot spots, so they get away with charging more than they should. And I know my sister paid over $200 after a concert one night, and that's just it's just outrageous. Something does have to change with that as well.
Even myself being so personally affected, and my husband too, like rippled affected, you know. When I saw that $45 one way for a mile and a half, I questioned, do we even want to go out? And then when we had to go home, like, are we good? Could we just walk? Or like, I was still questioning what are other options we could do. Driving was never on my forefront, but like I was thinking, what else could we do? Right. Because of the cost. So, and that was somebody that was directly affected. Absolutely. We sat out there, and like, let's not mention when the other group of people's leaving and we're the ones left behind by ourselves outside of this bar being responsible. How awkward that
isolating
feels. It's isolating. It's awkward. Like, you know that you're ruining the vibe of the night, but I can tell you that what's going to really ruin the vibe of the night is when somebody's dead, or you're planning a funeral, or someone's in jail. And I was willing to do it. And so I was just so grateful for my husband that night for backing me up, because he didn't lose his family, but he's watched what it's done to me, and it has affected him, and he would have paid more.
Yeah, and if, like you said, if you have not been personally affected by this to where you've buried somebody or saw somebody gravely injured, it might turn into a conversation like, okay, I was supposed to be the DD, but I've had a couple. How many have you had?
Yeah.
Okay,
I could
who's
see you
more
questioning
drunk?
it for $90 for a mile and a half each way. I could see you,
and you justify it.
I could see you justifying it. I could.
Yep.
But I promise that mile and a half isn't worth it. We were 2 miles from where we were going when my entire life changed. And how far was Grace when she was leaving?
Well, she was a little bit farther.
Close.
She's still,
I guess the drivers, how far were they when they left? So it shows that half a mile, and I was only going a mile and a half. I was going 3 times further than they were coming when they took Grace's life. Absolutely. The lady that took my family's life was only 2 miles away. So it was basically the same distance, but it's just showing you that it could happen. Yeah. It doesn't matter how far. And they usually don't make it far down the road.
Well, I will say that I just try to keep my composure about it, because there are days, and we've talked about this off mic, that we can talk about it, and we can be very passionate advocates against drinking and driving, and days that our strength, people around us say, I don't know how you do it. I just don't. Mm-hmm. And nights that I go to sleep thinking, I don't know how I did it either. Yeah. I don't know how I got through that without crying. And today for me is not that day. I feel like, and you can attest to this, that there is no amount of time when it gets easier. No. There is no amount of laws that will change that will make our lives easier. We don't do this. We've said it before. We don't do it because we're comfortable or because it's fun or because we want attention. We do it because we are deathly scared that somebody else is going to feel what we feel.
And you mentioned, we don't do it because we want attention. I would do anything in the world to not be known as the girl with the dead family. Mm-hmm. That sounds so morbid and harsh and not sugar-coated, but I can walk into Walmart and people know me because I'm the girl with the dead family. Yep. People know me on social media because I'm the girl with the dead family. And that sounds horrible. So harsh.
No, but that's true. Actually what they say or what they think.
They know me because of me.
The truth of it is, the second somebody sees you that knows your story, their face changes.
Pity.
Or maybe they don't know your face. Maybe they know the story. You say something and they're like, oh, that's you. That was your child. And that is the most awful feeling. No matter how they try to fake it, you feel it. You feel the room shift. You feel the air go out of the room. And what you said was horrible about you have the dead family.
I'm famous in a small
town.
But
you know what? That is the truth, and people think that, even if they don't say it out loud. So, never take what we're saying as we're strong, because we are not strong. No. We just don't have a choice.
We put on a good mask. We don't have a choice. We have to get up every day. I still have kids that depend on me. Yep. You still have kids, even if they're older, that depend on you. Absolutely. And they have to see their mom surviving and thriving.
Absolutely. And I am not giving the people that took my child any justification to say that, or any
they already stole so much from us. So much. I'm not letting them steal my future.
No. I will get up every day and fight this fight despite them.
Yes, absolutely. That's what kept me going in the beginning, was that she stole my husband, she stole my child, she stole the future that we had planned, but she couldn't steal our dreams and our ambitions. Yeah. And so I went on to fulfill Corey's dreams. I went on to try to fulfill Parker's dreams, and it's just like a bucket list thing of sometimes I'll be doing something. Like when we built our house, we used to say we always wished we could live in O'Fallon so it wasn't a further drive from work, and we were living in Winfield at the time, and I didn't realize that I accomplished something that was so big to the both of us until it was done. And I just stood there, and when I looked at our house, it hit me with a ton of bricks that I did it and I didn't even know I was doing it. I did it for him, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's nice. I get so many rainbows above that house. I'm telling you, it could be a perfectly sunny day and I see a rainbow, and it's just like that little
That's
hug,
your sign.
that like,
Yeah, like your
they're
God
there.
wink.
They know.
Yeah.
They know we did it.
Well, to wrap up this portion of what we've talked about, because I know I'm feeling like I need to go have a coffee and a blanket, but so the Gerdau brothers have a case coming up on the 15th to rehear, because the defense argued that they were drunk as well, that the brothers were drunk on their bikes, and obviously the prosecutor says it's irrelevant that they were not on right. So April 15th will be another hearing on that case, and also April 15th will be a hearing for this mayor in New Jersey. So we are watching this. We are watching all of these like a hawk, because even though they happen in different states, it sets precedents. However they are tried sets precedents for us here in Missouri. And we will talk about how badly Missouri sucks at some point. I just can't do it right now. Yeah, it's going to be.
Your minds will be blown.
They really, really will. And I look forward to sharing what we've learned about Missouri at some point.
Yeah, we have lots of exciting things. We're still trying to plan our community outreach with premiering our documentary and doing our school supplies drive. We're still trying to lock down a venue, but we will keep you posted on that.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I'm excited.
I am too.
That's one of those things where it's like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like it's like a nice, cheery, like something good that we could do in their memory, and it feels good.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, until next time.
We hope today's episode brought you comfort, understanding, and a renewed sense of hope. If you found value in our conversation, please consider sharing this podcast with someone who might benefit from it.
Until next time, hold on to hope, honor the memories of those that you love, and take one step at a time toward healing. You're not alone on this path. Take care and be well.